Hello everyone, welcome back to Crypto Cash. Thank you for joining me here today. This is your one-stop shop for cryptocurrency analysis, among other things. Now what we're doing, we're just taking a little look at Matic. And we're just going to look at the technical charts. There's no fundamentals here. If you have insight on that, feel free to comment below. Also bear in mind, I'm not a financial advisor. This is for educational purposes only. You always need to do your own research. I also have a link to my Telegram community down below in the description, and a link to my Patreon account if you'd like to show your support. Much appreciated to all of my supporters. You're fantastic. Furthermore, there's $25 in Bitcoin from Voyager if you'd like to check that out as well. Without further ado, let's go ahead and get right to it. Alright folks, let's go ahead and take another look at Matic. Let's see what's going on here today. A lot of my subscribers asked me to go ahead and check this out again, so thank you for the recommendation, the request, and also thank you for joining me here today. Let's go ahead and start. Before we do though, just so you know, if you're new to the channel, I always like to look at Bitcoin and Ethereum first, just so we can get a baseline of what's going on in the market, because those two coins essentially are big movers. They impact a lot of the industry, and it's important to know what's going on. So we'll look at that first. So looking at Bitcoin, this is the 4-hour chart first of all, and I'd like to preface in the fact that I do use Binance desktop application primarily. Obviously, it's TradingView is my main chart that I use. And you'll find that up here too. It's built into the app, so just click on TradingView and you'll be able to find it. And I usually use the 50 and the 200-day moving average more exclusively. And then of course the VWAP and EMA 15 for the shorter time frames. We'll get to that second. But for now, you can see the three EMA lines there, 50, 100, and 200-day moving averages. Price is trending below that. And you can also see these support levels here. Can't believe I'm saying this, but Bitcoin has a support level of 43,000. And a potential resistance at about 46,700. Okay. Furthermore, we've got a previous support rather. I used to saying that because it was there just a few days ago at 53,300, and another resistance at 57,000, 59,500. So as you can see, there's a lot of ground to make up here for Bitcoin if it wants to get back up to 60. Almost had it. Thanks a lot, Elon. Anyways. It's not entirely his fault. Alright, so that's Bitcoin, that's the 4-hour chart. Not much else to note, just understand that that is essentially the current market sentiment right now, because again, Bitcoin does drive a lot of price, either up or down, so it's nice to know that. Moving on to Ethereum. Ethereum here is behaving similarly to Bitcoin, only recovering a little bit better, kind of. It's hard to specify. Let's see here. So on the 4-hour chart, I mean, as you can kind of tell, similar price movement. And here's the thing that's interesting about Ethereum is the fact that it has a tendency of doing very well when Bitcoin does poorly, right? That's normally the sentiment. But right now what we're seeing is Ethereum is almost mirroring Bitcoin identically. So I mean, you can see this here, almost the same movement as Bitcoin. Slightly higher, but still the same movement. Probably likely almost the same percent difference. But the thing about Ethereum is that it doesn't seem like people are really all that interested in it as much. The volume has kind of gone down as well, and ADA is swooping up all the capitalization. So I'm speculating that ADA being potentially an Ethereum killer, that's the term that has been thrown around. Not saying it's true, but it does tend to be doing a lot better than others, and it's working inverse of Bitcoin. So it's doing really well. Generally speaking, again, it's took a slight hit recently, but all I'm trying to get at here is that Ethereum may not be the fallback for Bitcoin any longer. There might be some other major altcoins that people are flocking to. So just be mindful of that. Good stuff there. So looking at Matic here, as we can see, we're looking at the one-day chart first. And bear in mind, we always look at the one-day chart to get perspective on what's going on. But unless you're doing a very long-term swing trade, there's really no reason to take entry based on the numbers you see here. More specifically, cryptocurrency has a tendency of being so volatile that it's hard to really gauge the indicators, the oscillators on the one-day chart, because it can kind of be flawed and kind of be skewed based on the price action being so severe, which we're seeing right here. I mean, what was it? Matic 4 days ago was roughly half the price. Okay, so it's done pretty well for itself. So kudos to you if you have an entry in Matic right now. Well done. Here's some cool stuff. So take a look at Matic. As we can see, the price increase. Let's look at what it was 4 days ago. Correction, 5 days ago. It was 87% lower. Okay, so a lot of movement there. Good news is the price is moving up, and it seems to be on a very strong bull run. The bad news, in my opinion, here is the fact that it's really overextended, and to have this kind of price movement in only for 4 days, just say 5, I guess it's 5 days because there was one period of consolidation yesterday, it is a little concerning. So not to say that you have to sell, but we want to look at some indicators and identify if that might be advantageous. I like to trim off the top anytime something gets overextended, and I'm going to guess that it's overextended right now, but we'll see. All right, so looking at the RSI, yeah, big surprise, extremely overbought. RSI is over 80. Over 70 is one thing, that's just kind of like an indication to pay attention. But when you see an RSI over 80, it's probably time to maybe consider closing a small position or exiting safely, right? Take your profits while you can. Now, a lot of the people that are hodlers and 10x, 20x, all these people out there that think different than I do, hold on for dear life. Feel free to do that. That's okay. I hope you win. I hope you gain. But maybe a more, I wouldn't say smarter. I don't like losing money, especially leaving money on the table. So to me, taking profits while I can is the thing that I do. Yes, I miss out on opportunity, but I also take opportunity when I get it, when others will hold on for too long, right? So me being conservative, I would say that the price, just based on the one-day chart alone, is extremely overextended. But that's not to say that it could continue upwards in a positive, beneficial factor. But I mean, really, 85% growth in 5 days. It's almost doubled in size in that time. That's kind of a warning signal to me. I feel like we're going to see some type of reversal perhaps in the near future. Again, let's look, because obviously there was a reversal yesterday that ended up in just a slightly green bar, which is interesting but awesome. So anyways, this is a good news because Matic is obviously not giving two whats of what Bitcoin's doing. It's almost acting the exact opposite, which is great. I love coins that do this. So let's look at the 4-hour chart without further ado. Okay. So obviously our previous support and resistance levels are no longer necessary. We've got some new ones forming up here. We'll mark those in a moment. Looking at the RSI, it is still under 70, which is awesome. So this is a good kind of growth you want to see, all right? So for example, I forget when I covered it. It was probably about 2 or 3 days ago, maybe 4 or 5 now that I look at it. Yeah, about 5 days ago. It was in this channel of 106 to 117. And it consolidated, it broke down, and then it bounced off of support at 104 and hasn't stopped since. But what I like about this progression is the fact that, yes, it ramped up super hard, but it also consolidated pretty nice and even in one full trading day, and now it's ramping back up again. So it's like running a marathon with short breaks in between. And that's the important thing you want. You want to see this in a bull run, because if we didn't see this consolidation period, I would be even more concerned, because then it could fall back down super hard, like Ethereum Classic and a few others that were so strong, so impressive in such a short amount of time that it had to fall back down. 300% gains in 5 days. That has to fall back down, right? So anyways, I'm just getting at that because the fact that, yes, the one-day chart tells us it's overextended and it's overbought, but what I see here on the 4-hour chart is much better. Okay, that's a good sign. I prefer to put more weight on the 4-hour chart. Cool thing too is that the moving averages are underneath all of them. So if we do see any type of reversal, we'll likely see the 50, 100, or 200 moving average working as a support. That's a good sign as well. So I got a lot of good things going here for Matic. Again, I wouldn't be upset if I were to trim a little bit off the top, especially now with it kind of trying to crank up again, but it is now an all-time high if I'm not mistaken, right? I mean, it's never been this high before. So I would say that we're in uncharted territory, and this line of 188 might be a new support level. Okay, so we'll mark that on the 15, but everything's looking good. Also bear in mind too, the MACD is telling us momentum has completely shifted to a bullish sentiment, so there's likelihood for the price to continue to increase. Looking at the 15. First of all, we always like to turn off my simple moving averages because they are less effective. I mean, the 200 you can leave on. That does help us somewhat because the 200-day MA is beneficial, but it's kind of it's far down now. We don't really need to worry about it. It's right around 160, 165. But we want to pay attention to the VWAP line and the EMA line. These are my specific indicators I use on the 15-minute chart. And what I look for is to ensure the price is above both lines and to see if they're testing and holding. Okay. So if you're new to the channel, VWAP is the volume weighted average price. It essentially is a moving average that works as a support and level, support and resistance level based on the average volume of the last 24 hours. So it takes the volume of the last 24 hours and tells us currently, right now at this given time, the price should be $1.75. Okay. Now, with the price being so much higher than that, I'm speculating we're going to see a reversal, because here we go, RSI is up over 70, which doesn't always mean you have to sell. It just means that you want to pay attention. However, RSI is almost at 80. That tells me the price is extremely overbought, and we might see some type of retracement. It may not come down. It may go sideways. That's fine. But just note that the price action right now is a little high. And the reason why I say that isn't just because of the RSI, because that's one indicator. You don't always use just one indicator. You want to use two or more, but not too many, of course, as well. I know it's kind of funny, right? I prefer only to use three, which is RSI, VWAP, and EMA 15 on the 15-minute chart or less. But obviously the moving averages are better in longer time frames. Conversation for another day, but what I'm getting at here is the fact that with the price being so high from the VWAP, right? So the average price for volume should be $1.75. However, the price right now, well, not right now, but it was $198, hovering around $196. So it is currently 13% higher than what the average price should be. So that tells me that there is a large variance and that the price could reverse based on that sentiment. And concurrently, of course, again, RSI is over 70, really close to 80, and that is extremely overbought. Okay, so just pay attention to that. We'll see what happens here. It'll be interesting to see, but generally speaking, when I see this type of extension that is almost vertical, I usually try to trim a little bit off the top and just pay close attention to other indicators, because it could come crashing down. It'll probably do something similar to this or this, where it came down, and don't get me wrong, it's not going to like drop down to 50 cents, but it could come down and test the VWAP line, and then also see if it bounces off the EMA, right? So let's go ahead and look at the 1 minute chart, and I'll explain the EMA and what that means here. Okay. So first of all, we already identified the price action here. We're looking at about 13% variance in price from the VWAP to the current price. Now that's not terrible, but it's not great. That does mean that there is a likelihood of a potential retracement, and this may be all we see. That would be great if that's the case. But here's something to note with the EMA 15. First of all, industry standards will use EMA 9 and EMA 20. EMA 15 works great for me because it's just one line. I don't have to worry about two lines, and it kind of splits the difference. It works very good, in my opinion. And the EMA essentially tells us what the momentum is of the current trend, right? So if we go back a little bit, kind of probably hard to tell, but as you can see, it's bullish right here, loses EMA, and bearish. Kind of, it's working itself in this channel. These are hard things to trade, because of the fact that you get short, small little gains, right? And then you obviously want something like this, but to be able to confirm that this is happening, you need to look at a few things, and primarily the price being over VWAP is the first one. The second one is to wait for the price to be over EMA and to test it a second time. So what I mean by that here is, let's see if I can get closer. For example, right here, you see these two green bars. Those look nice and juicy, right? It's like, oh shoot, I gotta get in. You may not want to try to take entry right here, because there's a potential of a reversal because the EMA hasn't been tested twice. And what I mean by that is, if you see here, it comes up, say you take entry here, price comes up like it did, and instead of bouncing off EMA and coming up like it should on a traditional bull run, it came down and lost and went down here instead. Okay. So what I'm implying here is that instead of buying the first time, wait for the price to come down and test a bottom a second time. And again, this is a higher low, so that's a good thing to pay attention to. So we see a higher low, and we don't quite see a higher high. It's kind of meeting it right there, but generally speaking, as soon as we see it come up and test the EMA a second time and hold, then this would be a case in point to take entry. All right. So just say hypothetically you take entry right here. You come up, you wait. You see the price come up and come back down and test the EMA a second time. See how it holds? Even though it broke the plane, it's still holding. Because you can have a slight variance when it comes to that. I mean, that's only a 5-minute time frame. So if you're looking at a 5-minute chart, that would be a solid green bar closing above EMA as well. All right. So again, just something to note, when you see it bounce and it keeps holding, obviously it keeps testing, even here it tested, rejected, and held. These are all good things, these are all signs. So for example, say it come up here and it broke and it came down below and it goes even further, say it comes down to here, you'd want to sell your position and take your profit, because you'd have what? You'd have sold right here and you would have taken a 3.5% profit. That's fantastic. I know it sounds crazy because you're like, wow, what if you sell too early and you miss out on these gains? Again, I don't mind that, right? Because my goal every day is to grow my portfolio by 1%. If I can do that, I'm set. I love it. In fact, I'm on target to continue to do that. And the reason why is because I have good risk tolerance. I always shoot for 2% gains and no less than a 1% loss. Sorry, no more than 1% loss. So when I get into this kind of trade, I anticipate losing 1% and being okay with it, getting out of my position if it happens. But I always shoot for a 2% gain, and in this case 3.5 is almost double what I normally want, and that would essentially be a good day for me. Okay. Again, I like these kind of things myself personally. It's safe. You kind of find the middle of the big, if that makes sense. So instead of writing it out and trying to go 10x on everything, go 3.4x sometimes, right? Or whatever that percentage is on the total. Do something like that actually satisfies a meaning of actually getting in and out. Smart traders are the ones that do stuff like this consistently. Not trying to imply that I'm smart, but I can tell you that I have much more profitable days than red days. And in this industry, in this market, you have to be careful. You got to take your profits when you can. Don't get wrong. Writing Matic out from $1 to $2 is fantastic. I hope that happens. But if I'm not planning to do that, which I'm okay with, I will hodl sometimes too, don't get me wrong. But if my goal is to get in and to get out and essentially just take some profits in a 24-hour period or just say a 48-hour period, I look for things like this. These are things to look for. Okay? So I hope you found it beneficial. I hope I'm not throwing too much info at you, and I will have training videos moving forward regarding these things. I promise I'm working on something to help educate you on how these things work more effectively. But for now, try to implement just a small, 1 or 2 things that I try to teach, because I can tell you it's the smart way to go, and there's nothing wrong with the large gains and large losses if that's what you're comfortable with, if that's your tolerance. And I'll tell you what, in the years that I've been trading, 10 plus years, I can tell you that I'm so tired of losing my gains, right? You hold on for too long, it's all gone. Just a terrible, terrible feeling. So I hope that helps. And we'll see what happens. It does look like we're testing EMA up here, by the way, right around 194, 193. So I hope it holds, but it does look like it's shifting, and we might see this continue down. So again, take profits while you still can, because it might be hitting its resistance level at about 198 and coming back down. All right, thanks again for watching. Hope you have a fantastic rest of your day. Please like and subscribe if you haven't already. Join my Patreon channel. Feel free to share your support. But also, more importantly, join the Telegram community. Really good group of folks there. That's free and there's no cost there. But if you do want to support me, fantastic, and thank you so much. Either way, hope you all have a great rest of your day again as usual. Thanks so much for your time. We'll see you in the next video. Take care.